A danger to the public. New tonight, a prolific convicted sex offender set to be released from prison. The National Security Minister puts the public on notice. Also, what was once the historic Cable Beach Hotel is being taken down. Video from today's demolition of the Melia Resort. And an Our News exclusive from Crooked Island, as residents there say they are fed up with the condition of the roads. Then in Our News at 7:30, outrage continues tonight over a disturbing sex crime trend gripping the country. Residents condemn crimes against children. Our News live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Candino Knowles. A convicted sex offender with a lengthy and extensive history of sex crimes is set to be released from prison after serving only a portion of his 6-year sentence. His impending release prompting a warning from the Minister of National Security to the public to remain vigilant and cautious. Megan Shepard gets us started.
All in all, Mr. Cooper displays as a man who is unable or unwilling to control his urges to commit sexual offenses.
Minister for National Security Wayne Munro telling reporters he has deemed 47-year-old Sidney Cooper as a significant threat to public health and safety. Cooper's lengthy criminal history dates back to 1998 with a disorderly conduct conviction. In 2000, Cooper was convicted on 2 sexual assault charges, and since then has been convicted in 2005, 2006, 2014, 2016, and 2019. His most recent conviction landing him on the sexual offenders registry.
During the course of his trial for indecent assault in 2019, groped and indecently assaulted the female prosecutor in the court who was prosecuting him for that offense in the presence of the magistrate. Since he has been committed to the Bahamas Department of Corrections, he has groped and indecently assaulted female correctional officers and a reporter who was visiting to do a story.
During his exit interview, Munro insists Cooper said this.
He knows that it is wrong to touch women without permission, but in his view, women invite him to touch them when they wear short clothes or wear tight clothes, or smile, or lick their lips, or bend over, or move their hips, or blink their eyes, or cross their legs.
And with 15 sexual offenses under his belt, it leaves one to wonder, what does rehabilitation efforts look like behind bars? Well, Minister Munro notes that they are presently working to have doctors on staff on a daily basis at BDocs, rather than a visiting consultant from Sandilands Rehabilitation Center. Munro says despite objections from Cooper regarding the public notification of his release, he has deemed it necessary. However, he also had this warning for the public.
This notification is not an invitation for anyone to exact any punishment on Mr. Cooper.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Megan. And residents are reacting to a recent uptick in sex crimes. Our Joshua Williams has the full story coming up in Our News at 7:30. A Jamaican man who pleaded guilty to an armed robbery spree has been jailed for 10 years as part of a plea deal. After his release from prison, Wayne Smith will be placed on 3 years probation. If he's convicted of any offense during that period, Smith will be sentenced to an additional 5 years behind bars. On September 10, 2022, Smith and others robbed 700 wines and spirits on Burnett Road of a deposit bag containing $41,000. 2 days later, Smith and his accomplices robbed Restaurant and Supplies No. 2 on Mackey Street of a deposit bag that contained an undetermined amount of money. He also robbed a cash register of $6,400. On August 31st, 2022, Smith and others robbed Fortune Supermarket on Prince Charles Drive of $5,500 cash. Justice Gregory Hilton ordered the 10-year sentences to be served at the same time. The sentences will be deducted from the 10 months and 26 days that Smith has already spent in custody. A triple shooting, landing 2 men and a woman in hospital following a drive-by shooting in the Pinewood Gardens area. That incident happening after 10 o'clock last night. Police say the 47 and 21-year-old men and a 22-year-old woman were at a Sequoia and Buttonwood Street home when a yellow car pulled up and the suspects inside opened fire. The 47-year-old was shot in his left thigh, the 21-year-old in his left arm, and the woman in her right thigh. All victims were taken to hospital in private vehicles. Their conditions were listed as stable. Anyone with information on the shooting, you're asked to call police at 911, 919, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Well, now to demolition. Continuing at the Melia Resort today, the hotel closed its doors for renovations back in 2021. This drone footage that you're looking at, shot by our news cameraman Taran Knowles, shows the majority of the western side of the property totally torn down as tractors and bulldozers were all at work. The full extent of the demolition not visible from the road as the property has been fenced off. Despite being pressed repeatedly for information over the property's future, hotel executives have remained mum on the project. Demolition is expected to be completed by this winter. All right, we've got a whole lot more to get to tonight, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures, and meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Gideon, and a happy Thursday evening, everybody. We started off cloudy this morning, but some of those clouds burned off. Conditions kind of improved, but we are still kind of warm outside. 88 degrees under partly cloudy skies. The winds out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour, and it feels like a very warm 96 degrees. Temperatures around the islands right now, it's 86 in Freeport with some showers and some thunderstorms up near you guys. 85 in Allenstown, Bimini. 88 in Nicholstown, Andros, Great Harbor Key. 87 Marsh Harbor, pardon me, and then Governor's Harbor, 86. Central Bahamas, we pick up more mid-up 80s, 87 in Kemps Bay. 86 in Arthurstown, Cat Island. Georgetown, that's Nick Zuma's. You're 85. Deadman's Key, 85 also with some showers and some thunderstorms nearby. Coburn Townsend, Salvador, you guys are 84 with showers and thunderstorms in the vicinity. 86 in Duncantown, Ragged Island. Pick up more 84s in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Abrahams Bay. Delectable Bay, 85. Providenciales, Tricks and Giggles, you are 85. And Matthewtown in Agua, you seem to be the cool spot. Your temperature right now is 83 degrees on the outside. Satellite radar composite, we have a moisture plume across the northwest Bahamas that's associated with an upper level trough that's dropped across the northern portion of the state of Florida. There's also a tropical wave that's approaching us from the southeast that's producing some cloudiness and some showers across the southeast Bahamas. Both of these systems will combine to keep us a little unsettled over the next 24 to 36 hours as they slide towards the east, and behind that we expect high pressure to build in for the weekend. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. Look at your extended forecast is still to come.
We are just getting started in our news, but when we come back, Crooked Island residents at their wits' end as damaged roads lead to bigger problems. Find out what the community is facing in an Our News exclusive. And Sustainability First is back tonight with a spotlight on the crawfish season and how preservation is key in maintaining this highly sought-after natural resource. Then in world news, wildfires wreaking havoc across the world as Canada orders evacuations and the death toll in Maui's tragic wildfires climbs. When Our News returns. Health officials confirming 3 positive cases of dengue fever in New Providence. The Ministry of Health and Wellness in a statement late this evening saying there was no reported travel history among the cases. We understand all parties have been treated and have successfully recovered, but it is unclear when they may have contracted the virus. Dengue fever is a viral illness spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, commonly found in and around living spaces in objects harboring standing water. Symptoms include headache, fever, nausea, vomiting, rash, aches and pains such as eye pain, typically behind the eyes, muscle, bone, and joint pain. If you're experiencing fever and 2 or more of these symptoms, then you should see a doctor immediately. The Health Ministry says the relevant agencies have been actively monitoring this and says preventative mosquito breeding measures have been taken. To learn more about the signs and symptoms and preventative measures you can take, visit ournews.bs to read the full statement. Well, damaged cars, flooding, and even sinus issues are being blamed on roads in Crooked Island. Tonight, residents there speaking exclusively to Our News claiming work on the roads have been incomplete for nearly a year, leaving them at their wits' end. Joshua Williams has the story.
While much of the attention has been placed on the capital when it comes to road works and repairs, residents in Crooked Island are feeling left out, claiming road repairs on that island have been abandoned. Here's the island's chief counselor explaining why residents are fed up.
The contractor came in last year in October, November, and he scoured the road. And that involved getting rid of all the asphalt that was on top of the quarry, and that the road was left in that condition now to the present, and it's basically a year.
It's these conditions that have left residents on the island frustrated.
It creates a mess for the health of our people. Respiratory problem, dust all over the place when these vehicles pass on the road. Secondly, it destroys their vehicle. And as you well know, parts are very, very expensive.
But it's challenging on us for the sinus. It wakes up the sinus. And so in the night, you hardly can sleep because you hardly can breathe. But it's also challenging on us having to exert energy in order to clean your house. You cannot open your windows. The dust, when it's dry, the dust continues to flare up. And I won't talk about the vehicle, so it's like, please.
We had a lot of rain recently, and Crooked Island being a very hilly area, a lot of erosion happened since.
They're now calling on government to resolve the matter.
I hope the powers that be, the Ministry of Work, will ensure that at the end of the day, that these machines, these old tractors and the old derelict, whatever, they are removed as a part of the final phase of their involvement on this island.
Please, y'all, please look on us in Crooked Island because we feel left out, we feel neglected. Please help us.
Numerous attempts were made to contact the Ministry of Works for an update this week, but our calls were not returned up to news time. Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Josh, and we'll continue to follow that story. Well, we are just over 2 weeks into crawfish season, and whether you're a professional lobster fisherman or just a hobbyist, the waters have been bustling with local fishermen trying to get their share of the catch. In tonight's Sustainability First, our Marlena Leonard looks at crawfish fishing.
Bahamas First, putting sustainability first for our people and our environment. What's first for you and the planet comes first for us.
Data from the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources says over 4 million pounds of crawfish was landed in 2018, valued at $47 million, making up 82% of the total $57 million worth of fisheries product from our waters for that year. While they're a vital part of our economy for the fishermen and women, they're also imperative for the health of our marine ecosystems. They're a key food source for sharks and turtles and serve as reef cleaners, helping maintain the health of our coral reefs. But all of this is only possible if we're careful to fish sustainably and within the season from August 1st to March 31st, allowing the populations to mature and regenerate after fishing. For Bahamians, we can help keep this thriving industry going for years to come by following the regulations. Use the approved equipment. Spears and Hawaiian slings are permitted. Spear guns are illegal. Measure carefully and don't take anything with a tail length shorter than 5.5 inches. Be careful to keep an eye out for eggs. egg-bearing females must be left in the water. If you don't have a commercial fishing license, you have to keep your catch below 250 pounds. Don't use air compressors if you don't have a permit. Even then, their use is restricted to depths of 30 to 60 feet and only within season. Finally, make sure you have a permit for traps if you wish to use them, and that they adhere to specific trap dimensions. Reporting for Our News and reminding you to put sustainability first, I'm Marlena Leonard.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as the death toll following wildfires in Maui climbs. The U.S. Army and National Guard now assisting first responders. Plus, 10 foreign nationals face a judge in Singapore for alleged money laundering in a case involving about $1 billion in assets. And dramatic video from Argentina as a bus catches fire on a busy highway. See passengers running for their lives when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Members of the U.S. Army and National Guard assisted Hawaiian first responders on Tuesday as they continued search and rescue efforts following deadly wildfires that ravaged the Maui resort town of Lahaina last week. The inferno killed at least 106 people and charred a 5-square-mile area of town within hours. Officials say the fire, which caught residents by surprise, destroyed 2,200 buildings and caused an estimated $5.5 billion in damage. Meanwhile, Canadian officials ordered the evacuation of the Northwest Territories' capital of Yellowknife and several smaller communities on Wednesday as a massive wildfire there threatened the town of Hay River overnight. So far, no deaths have been reported, but several structures have been destroyed. Canada is enduring its worst wildfire season with more than 1,000 active fires burning across the country, including 230 in the Northwest Territories.
There is a possibility that without rain, the fire reaches the outskirts of Yellowknife by the weekend. It is approaching, but there's time to complete the community evacuation. It's being called now so that we can allow people the opportunity to drive while the highway is open. The highway is subject to closures at any time, but it's likely that it'll be open until tomorrow morning. Conditions will be smoky, and residents should drive with caution and care.
And Singapore authorities charged 10 foreign nationals in court on Wednesday for alleged money laundering and forgery offenses in a case involving about $1 billion in cash, properties, luxury cars, and other assets. The foreigners were aged 31 or between the ages of 31 and 44 and include nationals from China, Turkey, Cyprus, Cambodia, and Singapore, among others. Police say they seized the assets during simultaneous raids across the island state. In a separate statement, the Singapore Central Bank said it has been in touch with the financial institutions where the potentially tainted funds have been identified. And tensions arose on a highway in Buenos Aires, Argentina, when a bus unexpectedly burst into flames, causing its passengers to flee in a panic on Wednesday. Fire happened on the General Paz Highway and was filmed by Buenos Aires police security cameras. The fire quickly engulfed the entire bus, as you can see there, and spread across the asphalt due to fuel spillage blocking traffic. Local media reporting the cause of the fire was an electrical mechanical problem. The fire was put out by local firefighters. No one was injured. And finally, more than 60 people are feared dead after a boat carrying mostly Senegalese migrants capsized off the coast of Cape Verde in the Atlantic Ocean yesterday. Senegal's foreign ministry said in a statement late on Tuesday the boat left on July 10th with 101 passengers on board. 38 people were rescued. It was not immediately clear when the incident occurred. Now, the ministry said the survivors were on the Cape Verde island of Sal, where Senegal is liaising with authorities for their repatriation.
The survivors are better. They're being hydrated. They're being looked after here in the tent, here at the port. In terms of testing, we're testing for malaria and COVID, and so far, we haven't had any positives. Given what the world is going through right now with migratory issues, it means that we all nations, have to sit down at the table and see what we can do that we don't lose any more lives at sea, above all.
Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was August 17th. Then, in our news at 7:30, residents react to an uptick in sex crimes, particularly against children. The National Security Chief says a real man would not take advantage of a child. Plus, lights out across New Providence last night as BPL customers ticked off. The latest from the power company as residents react when our news returns.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama, and man, you got to catch the Charlie Bahama show this week, where we're going to be coming to you all the way from Abaco. We're going to have 2 episodes because we couldn't fit all this adventure in just 1 episode. So we're going to have 2 episodes all the way from Abaco, Hopetown, as you can see where we are now at the Elbow Key Lighthouse. So we're going to be doing a lot more all throughout, all right? So you definitely want to be a part of this show, all right? The Charlie Bahama Show every Friday night, 8 p.m. on RTV channel 212.
Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was August 17th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1937, Ronald Ronnie Butler was born in Nassau, a local and international entertainer, recording artist, singer, songwriter, and club owner. Butler's career spanned over 6 decades. He was considered one of the foremost proponents and innovators of Bahamian music, performing in genres of calypso, gumbe, and rake and scrape. Some of his most well-known hits are Burma Road, Crow Calypso, Bahama Rock, and Hoopa de Peppa in the Vaseline. His song, Married Man, was featured in the Tyler Perry film Why Did I Get Married Too? In 2003, he was made a member of the Order of the British Empire. Butler died November 19, 2017. He was 80 years old. Then fast forward to 2020, when a consultant in the Accident and Emergency Department at Princess Margaret Hospital said the facility was on the brink of collapse. This as the country was facing a second wave in the deadly COVID-19 pandemic.
People are dying. Young people are dying. We have people pull up at the critical care block, not breathing.
Those are the tents that are housing all of our COVID positive patients. And there's a barricade that's actually set up so that we would keep the distance that is needed so that we who are out here would not be exposed to the COVID positive patients.
This as public health care workers not backing down 6 days into a sick out. Around 300 employees at PMH, Sandilands Rehabilitation Center, and Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama called in sick. Bahamas Public Services Union President Kimsley Ferguson saying at the time that any action taken was not sanctioned by the union. The sick out was due to an uproar over honorarium payments.
There was no definitive indication regarding who qualifies for the honorarium. And so, again, we were advised to try to separate what is happening at the Ministry of Health with what is happening at PHA, which is totally impossible.
And finally, in 2022, tributes poured in for 21-year-old Omar Davis Jr., whose tragic death the day before sent shockwaves throughout the community. Davis's decomposing body was found in a car trunk behind the Centerville food store. Among those remembering his life, Prime Minister Philip Davis and former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis.
His determination and his success reached and inspired so many.
When you lose a son or a relative, we don't know what were the reason, but God knows. God have a different calling.
All right, to watch that historical recap again and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. It's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia, was quite sobering to see how far we've come. We saw today in history there about PMH being on the brink of collapse during the pandemic, right?
I'm so done. I'm so happy to be done with that time, you know.
Yeah.
But to look back and to see how far we've came,
Absolutely.
I'm so happy
Yeah.
that's in the past.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much, Ken. While residents react to an uptick in sex crimes, particularly against children. Plus, lights out across New Providence last night as BPL consumers ticked off. Here are your latest headlines.
A shocking crime. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. Residents speaking out following an increase in sex crimes involving young children.
All of these are the women who throwing the bodies around and stuff like that. Why fool with an 8-year-old?
I always find new ways to
Introducing the Focal Smart Pass app that helps you to fuel up faster. Here's how it works. Download the app on the App Store or get it on Google Play and create your profile with payment details. Visit your nearest Shell station, open the app, scan the pump's QR code, select your payment amount, and begin fueling. Say goodbye to cash and cards because the Focal Smart Pass offers secure and convenient payment options right at your fingertips. Download Focal Smart Pass now and fuel up faster today.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. The horrors of sex crimes continue to grab national headlines. Sex crimes involving children have sparked outrage in recent weeks, and residents are not happy about it. Our Joshua Williams took to the streets and has their reactions.
I mean, cut their, cut their business off. That's the way I feel because that is really terrible.
Residents insisting enough is enough. The past few weeks have seen an uptick in sex crimes involving young children. The latest, an 11-year-old girl who was allegedly impregnated by her mother's boyfriend. The National Security Minister telling the media the preteen got an abortion. These residents calling this and other incidents a disgrace.
It's sad. It's really sad to know that, it's happening. And you see these little ones, they little children, man. Take care of them. You should be protecting them, Don't go there and try. You're destroying our country when you do that.
I heard it on the news this morning, and these things, sad. We just have to pray, and the fellas who do these things, once they're caught, they should be dealt with.
For these residents, stiffer penalties coupled with a nation turned back to God is the answer.
It's really, really wrong. I mean, the society what we are living in today, the people, everybody going crazy. The way I feel now, these are the last days.
What could we do? We only could pray. We only could pray and ask God. I pray that those who are in authority will get these people.
When we get close to God, we do what's right. And that's the problem now. We need the Spirit of God to draw people to Him.
For Arthur, parents need to step up.
Protect them at all costs, teach them, guide them, so they could make the right decision, where to go, who to go with, and don't let your children just go anywhere without your acknowledgement.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, well, the National Security Minister continuing to weigh in on the shocking sexual assault of that preteen girl who was allegedly impregnated by her mother's boyfriend. On social media, the outcry has been for the arrest of the preteen's mother. Monroe had this response.
I don't have that report. When you are with the police, whether you're in custody or not, often depends on whether you make the decision that you wish to leave. If you are voluntarily with them, they never have to arrest you.
Now, the preteen got an abortion, terminating the pregnancy. Monroe was also asked about investigations into the source of the abortion pill.
The police will investigate the matter thoroughly, every aspect of it. All of this is a part of what we have to come to grips with as a culture, as a people. So the fact that this young man has this behavior that he hasn't been deviated from, the fact that in that instance, we still have, by all accounts, men in this country who believe that they can own women and their children because they pay some rent, they provide for a home. That is not the way of life.
Wife of the Prime Minister, Anne-Marie Davis, says women have to be careful when it comes to leaving their children around new romantic partners. Her comments came in response to the reports of an 11-year-old girl who was allegedly abused at the hands of her mother's boyfriend. It resulted in a pregnancy and eventual abortion.
In cases like these are the type of things where women have to look at themselves. They have to come out of this shell and know that they're destroying their children. They probably have already been destroyed themselves, and protect the child. And do not leave the children home with your boyfriends. And again, it's education, bringing them out of whatever state of mind they're in. Sometimes it takes talking to them, because sometimes they're lost in their own world and they cannot fight for anything or stand up for their own child.
Davis says the key to addressing the rise in these kinds of crimes may be in increased community outreach, education, and access to therapy.
So cases like these, we need more work being done in the communities, through the urban centers, through the NGOs. There's just so much work to do. And we have to tell these men to stop. They themselves need mental treatment.
Now, to hear more from Mrs. Davis on this topic and others, be sure to stay tuned to On the Record with Jerome Sawyer. It all gets started immediately after this newscast. Nice conditions on this Thursday as we move closer to the weekend. Making any big plans? Well, meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with a first check on weather. Greg?
Thanks, Italian. Welcome, everybody, for a quick check on conditions outside our studios and around the islands. It's 88 degrees outside and right now under partly cloudy skies, and it's humid. Your winds are out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour, and your field strike temperature is at 96. Sideline radar composite showing a lot of showers and thunderstorms associated with a moisture plume and an upper level disturbance to the north of us. Well, trough, really. And there's a tropical wave approaching us from the southeast Bahamas. Both systems will continue to keep us in an unsettled weather pattern over the next 24 to 36 hours. So we're looking for some cloudy conditions as well as some showers tonight through tomorrow before things clear up. That's a quick check on conditions around the island. Stick with us. Look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, residents are fed up with frequent power outages by Bahamas Power and Light. Our Berthany McDermott speaks with the company's COO. Also, the teachers union chief says there's still a teacher shortage. This as the start of the new academic year is only weeks away. Plus, the Bahamas swim team preparing to compete in the 2023 Goodwill Swimming Championships in Jamaica. Our Sasha Lightborn is there and has the latest when our news returns.
I get it. You can order stuff on wimauto.com.
Doctors Hospital is reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Last the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
A cable fault left around half of the island in darkness on Wednesday night as BPL workers rushed to fix the issue. While residents remain disappointed with the power giant's service and questioned its ability to supply consistent power, one official seeking to explain what happened. She's also apologizing to consumers. Bertha McDermott tells us more.
A statement from Bahamas Power and Light revealing a cable fault caused several units at BPL's Blue Hill and Clifton pair of power plants to trip, ending in darkness for 50% of consumers. The power loss happened around 6:30 Wednesday evening. We spoke to residents who seemed fed up.
If a banana power company come in today, I'm gone, I'm done. BPL water and sewage, it's too long. Technology is everything now, there's no excuse. We've been suffering, no one cares.
I'm surprised that after this long period of time, we've been independent for 50 years, and we still haven't been able to solve our energy problems.
In a statement, BPL said more than 100 megawatts of generation was temporarily unavailable. BPL's team responded immediately to conduct initial assessments and begin returning the units to service. BPL Chief Operating Officer Tony Seymour explains what came out of the assessments.
The cable just failed, so it's a lot hotter than it's usually been. The loads are a lot higher, and so sometimes joints in the cables fail.
BPL also started repairs to its underground cables at the Soldier Road substation that were damaged, which delayed restoration to that area until early Thursday morning. But a short time later, BPL revealed residents of Nassau Village and Sapodilla Drive will see another outage for emergency repairs.
It's related to the fault last night, so the crews would have had to go back today to complete any repairs that they were not able to finish.
As the summer months get hotter, residents were without power for 6 hours today. The BPL COO had this to say to the impacted consumers.
Firstly, we want to apologize to all of our consumers for the disruption in supply that they have experienced. We know that it is extremely hot. We know that it's intolerable at this point. And so we're making every effort that we can to improve the reliability of our systems.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bertha McDermott.
All right, thanks for that, Bertha. Well, public schools across the country will open in 2 weeks, and that means thousands of students will return to the classroom. But will the facilities be ready to welcome them? Tonight, our Jamila Mizik talks to the Bahamas Union of Teachers president, who's expressing a number of concerns ahead of the new school term.
More than 300 new teachers will join the public education system this school year. But even with the large number of teachers hired, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson says, unfortunately, there's still a teacher shortage.
We do have some teachers that are home on administrative leave. They need to be in the classrooms. We have some teachers who may have retired who still have some strength and energy and passion to teach. So you can also hire them as supply teachers or substitute teachers. So we have to ensure that every class is covered.
And when it comes to the deployment of teachers on the Family Islands, the BUT president says housing remains an issue.
It's past for the Ministry of Education to ensure that in each of the Family Islands that the ministry has housing, government housing. And there are a lot of cottages and government buildings that are on various Family Islands that are just dilapidated. They're just sitting there in a very, very poor state. So they need to look at refurbishing or renovating those and even building more.
Another age-old problem is the timeline for the completion of school repairs ahead of the new school year. Wilson says the BUT is conducting its own inspections, and today she notes that there are still some schools receiving repairs.
But once our teachers get back to school in the building, our shop stewards, they have a checklist, so they will use that checklist to let us know if the school is ready. And if it's not ready, then we will ensure that we bring it to the attention of the Ministry and the Department of Education with a view to them having the school environment ready.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Bahamas basketball records the biggest win in the country's history, and our swim team competes in the Goodwill Games. You definitely want to stick around for this. Our sports is coming up next.
Sunny skies outside the Our News studios this evening, wondering how you'll be able to plan your weekend. Greg is back with your weather details when Our News continues. Stay with us.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. The Bahamas records an historic win in Argentina, and we give you the latest on our swimmers in Jamaica. Here's Tage Adderley with a check on sports. Tage?
Thanks, Natalia. Good evening. Welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tage Adderley. Team Bahamas put the world on notice that they're ready to compete with the big boys in basketball. The Bahamas national basketball team recorded what was easily the biggest win in the program's history yesterday when they beat Argentina 101-89. The boys from the 242 withstood the onslaught from the fourth-ranked team in the world, a team with collective decades worth of experience in big-time international play and Olympics. They also withstood a raucous home crowd to come back from an 18-point deficit in the first half to put Argentina away. Eric Gordon led the way, providing clutch shot making when the Bahamas needed it. He was the top scorer with 24 points, and he also had a monster dunk to put the Bahamas up at the end of the first half. He also showed his quick hand, swiping 2 steals and getting some strips in key situations. Buddy Hield got buckets as one does, scoring 22 points and grabbing 6 rebounds. DeAndre Ayton put in work inside, scoring 22 points, grabbing 15 rebounds and blocking 3 shots. And Travis Munning stepped up big time, scoring 22 points, making clutch shots to get the Bahamas in the game when they were down and getting defensive stops. With Panama pulled from the tournament, the Bahamas will head straight to the semifinal round. The semis are on Saturday and the finals are on Sunday. Moving things over to the pool, the 40-member swim team departed for the Goodwill Games in Jamaica yesterday. Our Sasha Lightburn is live from there. Sasha, how's it going?
Well, Tage, what I can tell you is that down here in Jamaica, it is very, very hot, but the swimmers are staying cool, already participating in 2 practices right before competition is set to kick off tomorrow.
The team had an early start on Wednesday, leaving from Lyndon Pinling International Airport on the national flag carrier to Norman Manley Airport in Kingston, Jamaica. Once the team landed and grabbed a bite to eat, it was time to get to work. The team held its first practice on Wednesday at the University of the West Indies and then early this morning at Jamaica's Aquatic Center. We asked head coach Dylan Brown why it's so important for a team of this size to travel to a competition 2 days in advance.
And we have to get used to the atmosphere, the new pool, all of that must be taken into consideration for a better performance, of course.
Bahamas Aquatic Secretary General Georgette Albury and Undersecretary in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, Montez Williams, also traveled with the team.
I think the last Goodwill Games we came 4th, so we just want them to do better. And of course, the ultimate goal is to become number 1.
And in swimming, we have a lot of young people who are so talented, and the opportunity to compete for the nation is so important that the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture support not only in physical presence, but in funding.
Now, Tage, coming up tomorrow, the team will have a warm-up session at Jamaica's Aquatic Center. Following that, around 5:30 Bahamas time, the opening ceremonies will kick off. After that, competition is set to begin. Reporting from Kingston, Jamaica, for Our Sports, I'm Sasha Lightbourne. Back to you, Tage.
Thank you, Sasha. For more news on our swim and basketball teams, be sure to follow us on all of our social media pages. That'll do it for sports today. I'm Tage Adderley.
Still ahead on our news tonight, the weekend is fast approaching and temperatures are still hot around the islands. Greg is back with your extended weather forecast when our news returns.
Welcome back to our news. The evening feels a bit cool tonight. There may be some rain in the forecast this weekend that's quickly approaching. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended forecast. Greg?
Thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for a final check on weather around the islands. Upper level trough dropping across North Florida, bringing some moisture across the area. There's also a tropical wave approaching the southeast Bahamas. Both systems will combine to keep us a little unsettled over the next 24 to 36 hours. So we're looking at some partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy skies with some showers and some thunderstorms. That will continue through Friday and into the weekend. And of course, the tropics, we are watching two systems out there. A system that's in the central Atlantic that the National Hurricane Center is giving a medium chance for formation. It's expected to continue to move towards the northwest. The second system, just to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, that system also has a high chance for formation over the next couple of days. And both of these systems could possibly become our next tropical depression into the weekend. Also, that tropical wave that's moving across the southeast Bahamas, once that gets into the Gulf of Mexico, the National Hurricane Center will watch that, and that's been given a low to medium chance for formation, but it would be well west of us. And of course, the tropics getting rather busy right now, and we are approaching the peak of the season near the end of the month and into September. This is how things are looking in the Atlantic. Those two systems, as I mentioned, over the next couple of days, high chance for formation over the next several days, and then one in the Gulf of Mexico, given a low chance for formation. Future forecast showing some showers and thunderstorms across the northwest Bahamas associated with that upper level trough. Tropical wave moving into the central Bahamas through Friday, bringing us some more moisture, and that will eventually move across the northwest Bahamas by Saturday. So it looks to be a wet pattern for us for Saturday. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas. The winds are going to be out of the east to southeast, 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet, but we do expect some swells, so we're keeping a caution flag posted for you guys. Swells will be up to 6 feet, mainly along Atlantic exposures. Your high tide will be at 9:31 tonight. An advisory is in place for you guys in the central and southeast Bahamas. Winds will be east to southeast at 15 to 20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet, but up to 8 feet in some swells. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, with both those systems moving through for the weekend, showers and thunderstorms will be in forecast Friday and Saturday, and eventually by Sunday we expect clearing, and then high pressure will be building across us with some Saharan dust as well, and that should dry things out for early next week. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
All right, thanks so much, Greg, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening. On the Record with Jerome Sawyer starts right now.